Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It is technically Monday night, December 9th, but we are doing a Tuesday podcast. We're going to break down all four games for the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. Joined today, as always, by my good buddy Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, we've had a lot of fun talking NBA Cup over the last few weeks. You and I have been following this NBA Cup very closely. Thought there was no better person to come on and do this breakdown with me than you. And yeah, I'm excited that it's here, right? Quarterfinals, we got 8 teams left. So we're going to see 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Thursday, the semifinals on, I think it's Saturday, right? December 14th. Mm-hmm. And then the championship on December 17th on Tuesday. So week from today, we'll have a championship, and very excited to see. Because, I mean, you look at, like, really quick, you just look at the 8 teams that are alive, and you're like, we're missing some top teams. Anything can happen with these 8 teams that are still left.
Yeah, and, I mean, listen, man, not trying to pour one out for the Magic. I know we'll talk about it. But I was very, honestly, I was very sad to get this Franz news.
Yeah,
because they were already without Paolo. Like, if Paolo or Franz are in this matchup and they're playing the Bucks, this probably becomes like a premier game on a 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. Yeah. Like, and now without Franz, it's like it just doesn't have the same feel. Like, you feel like the Bucks are almost being given a gift. I'm not saying they're being given a win, but they're being given an easier path. No fault of their own, obviously. But just we want to see the stars in this thing, and so Franz going down at the wrong time just kind of stinks. But all in all, I do think it's interesting with these teams because out of this group, I think we feel like maybe the Thunder are primed to go to a championship. The Warriors were playing really well; they kind of hit a skid. I know they won last night, and then in the East, like, it's the Hawks and the Knicks on the other side of this thing. So it's just very interesting. Oh, yeah. It's interesting. We'll see how it shakes out, but I'm definitely excited about it. And this is the cool part about a tournament, Stevie. The best team isn't always going to get in. Like, that's the best team isn't always going to get in, and that's why people love March Madness. Like, the 15th seed is going to beat the 2 every other year or every year, however it works out. It's just that's sports, man. So love this thing and excited to break it down with you also.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Eastern Conference, no Cavs, no Celtics is the first thing you notice, right? I mean, that's right out of the bat. That's the first thing you notice. The Hawks are currently 7th in the East. And I mean, you look at the Western side and you're like, we have the number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5. And you're like, all right, well, Memphis didn't get in, but we have 4 of the top 5 teams in the West. And then you look on the East Coast, and you don't have 1 and 2. I mean, you don't have the Cavs and the Celtics combined right now. They are 40-9. They are 2 of the best records, or the 2 best records in the NBA are not. They didn't even advance to the Eastern side. So, I mean, I think we talked about it when we first started talking NBA Cup. We were like, these 2 teams being in the same group together makes it wild. And I never once would have thought that neither one of them
got out.
It's crazy.
Detroit almost got in. If Detroit beats the Bucks last week, they're in. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, spoiler alert. The Bucks have been playing really good basketball, and I'm really sad as a Magic fan. So I'll leave it at that. Like you said, pour one out for my Magic. It's been a rough year. I think Orlando would have had a legit chance at this thing had Paulo and like, it's not even Paulo and Franz. Like, Jonathan Isaac, he strained his hamstring too. So, like, one of our best defenders as well that we can rely on to kind of shut somebody down. So, yeah, rough go. It would have been really fun watching Jonathan Isaac shut down Giannis and Orlando win this game without Franz. But, yeah. So, anyway, we're going to break down all 4 games here. Obviously, we don't have pricing for the Wednesday games, but instead of doing two-game slate podcasts solo, I figured I'd bring Will on. We've been following this very closely, and we talk both of these games. Obviously, you can adjust the pricing on when the Wednesday slate drops, but we won't be back until Thursday for the NFL podcast this week. So we're breaking down Tuesday and Wednesday today. And just kind of give you our first look thoughts here like we normally do. So appreciate everyone hanging out. If you haven't already, subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind over there on YouTube. And, Will, let's talk some hoops. We get started with that game. Orlando at Milwaukee. Again, very sad Magic fan over here. I'm not going to, get too upset, but I'm super excited for the prospects of this team. This game opened at 217. It's down to 213.5. The Bucks, a 7-point favorite. There's a couple places that still have like a stale 7.5 out there. I know FanDuel still has 7.5. So if you're into betting this game, if you want to bet this game, FanDuel is probably the best option. Magic side first. Paulo's out. Gary Harris is out. Franz Wagner's out. Jonathan Isaac is questionable with a hamstring strain. On the Milwaukee side, everybody's good to go except for Chris Livingston, who doesn't matter at all. So let's go to my Magic here first. We saw one game the other night with the Orlando Magic at home. I think they're still undefeated at home, by the way. Awesome basketball at home this year. But they beat Phoenix at home. And we saw Jalen Suggs score 26 actual points. But Goga went absolutely bonkers. He had a 21-16 game. What are we doing with the Magic? Because it's a 2-game slate on Tuesday with this Magic team, and they're criminally underpriced with no Paulo and Franz, and they're going to be very, very popular because of all these reasons.
Yeah, here's my question: how popular do you think Cole Anthony's going to be at 4,200?
He's way too cheap.
And and are the minutes actually real? Like, for me, the minutes are real if he's 25 minutes. Like, that's still real. You get what I'm saying? Like, he played 29 minutes in that game.
Oh, I mean, he just provided such a. I mean, again, I'm a Magic fan. I watch a lot of Magic basketball. He just provided an incredible spark off the bench in that game. And like, just they didn't go away from him in the fourth quarter. Like, they just ran him out there. And it was not KCP. It was De Silva. So, like, De Silva is the guy that I think could lose minutes. Wendell Carter didn't check back in that game. So, I don't know if I would say 29 minutes is real, but I would say 22 to 26 minutes is probably very real for Cole Anthony.
And on this slate, that's still fantastic at his price. So, Cole Anthony, definitely a top option on this slate. Goga, I think, definitely a top option on this slate. 5,400, I think he's in play. I want to play Wendell Carter Jr. I do think he's viable, Steve. Like, I want to give him a little bit of room here with no Franz either. And then for me, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's 4,400 playing big minutes. We know he's not going to go for like 30 every game, but to me, these are the games where they need him for defense. He kind of gets a little more active, maybe takes a few more shots, and he ends up in the 25 to 28 fantasy point range, Stevie, which helps us on a small slate like this at his price. So really like him. I definitely like Cole Anthony a ton. And then, I've been waiting to play Suggs. And now it's probably the time, Stevie, at 7,300, where he's going to be relied upon even more to kind of help this team get some offense going. So really like the Orlando Magic and their prices, and let's hope they can keep up with Milwaukee. And if they can, at the end of the night, who knows? Maybe they squeeze out a win without both of these guys. That would be probably one of the biggest upsets of the Cup games, Stevie, if Orlando beats Milwaukee without Franz and Paolo. And secretly, I think I'm kind of rooting for them to do it.
I think the 7.5 line is very tempting because of how good Orlando is defensively, but the Bucks have been playing incredible recently. So I don't think I'll bet it. I think I'll just watch it as a fan. Goga, Suggs, Anthony, don't forget about Mo Wagner in this game. he's a guy that like he'll randomly come off the bench and just go bonkers for a quarter or two, and they'll run him out there. And he's a guy that can add up the stocks really fast. So he's another guy that I really like as a potential pivot off of Goga. Because if Mo Wagner is playing really good, they're not afraid to leave Mo Wagner out there, and it really hurts Goga. So kind of watching all that, but watching the Jonathan Isaac news, just want one season for this guy. Just want him to stay healthy for 1 year. It's been a long time. He is an incredible basketball player, and I just want to see him stay healthy. The only other name that I'll throw out there is KCP. He probably plays 35 plus minutes in this game. They're going to use his defense. KCP's that guy that he can get hot, make a few threes, stack up the points really fast. Listen, at the end of the day, if you're playing this 2-game slate, you're playing Orlando. They're way too cheap for a 2-game slate. Go to the other side of this game. Again, it's 2-game slate where all points matter. We have Luka, we have SGA, and we have Giannis. Those are your 3 spend-ups on this slate.
All on the same slate, too, which is
I know. For sure. I know. Okay, really quick. I'm just going to rant for 2 seconds because we're only going to talk about 4 games today. It is a huge, huge, huge mistake for DraftKings and FanDuel not to have a 4-game slate. I'm just going to say that me and Will already talked about this pre-show. Yeah. That's my rant. We have late swap. We can run money for 2 days, and I know they're going to probably have big. I mean, I think there's like a $350K contest on DraftKings, but I think they could have had a really sizable prize pool slate for the 4-game slate that would have, because I would have played that
100 to $250K up top, anywhere in that range.
Yep. So I think it's a huge mistake. But anyway, talk to me here. What do you like for the Bucks in this game against Orlando?
Do like Lillard at 9K. He's been playing really great. Now, we do know that Chris Middleton came back. Now, obviously, Stevie, Middleton is the guy that's going to be, out there playing 30 minutes. Like, he's been 20, mid-20. Like, so, but, he's 5,900. So, I don't think they're going to push him even in the cup games. I just think they're trying to get him acclimated and get him back. Oh, yeah. Gary Trent has still squeezed out mid-20s minutes. He's 3,800. He's another kind of cheap guy that I think you could get to, Stevie. Do we play Brook Lopez here at 5,500, who's had his share of games, but boy, has his production tanked as of late. I don't think you can play him over Goga. I don't know if you can play him over Wendell Carter Jr. I do want to say, Stevie, I might hit the X button on Brook Lopez and live with the results. If he goes off for 60, then I just lose. But everything points towards him with all these, hands in the pot. Everything points towards him not being as good, which leads me to Bobby Portis, who's coming off the bench, who I do think is viable on a slate like this. So I do like him. And then obviously Giannis, I think, is, the premier spend up in this game, hands down.
So my initial thoughts is be overweight on Orlando, fade Milwaukee, and play the studs from the Dallas OKC game.
Like it.
That was my on a 2-game slate. That was my initial read on this smaller slate. Do I end up there? I don't know. It's way too early to say that's where I'll end up. I mean, it's 10:30 at night on Monday. This slate kicks off at 7 o'clock tomorrow on Tuesday. So I will say this about Brook Lopez. I couldn't agree more with you on playing Bobby Portis over Brook Lopez. Orlando allows the fewest fantasy points per game to centers. It doesn't matter who's out there. They just have been playing really well against centers all year this year. So we saw this last year too, and Wendell Carter being healthy helps as well. His defense has been a lot better since joining Orlando. So kind of don't like anything for Milwaukee. I mean, Trent, Giannis, these guys are going to play a bunch of minutes, but I just think even on this slate, there's better options. I like the Portis call. I think the Portis call is really, really interesting because Orlando plays with a lot of size. So I could see Portis getting extended run. And I could see like Portis getting extended run against like Mo Wagner and them not even bringing Brook Lopez back. So I like the Bobby Portis call a lot. I hadn't thought about that. So I love that call. Moving on, we got Dallas at OKC, 231 total in this game. The Thunder, a 4-point favorite. This is the premier game. The other game,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm a Magic fan. We play defense. That's how we win football games. We have some offense. Don't get me wrong, but both of our offensive players are sitting on the bench hurt right now. So we play defense. That's Orlando. Orlando wins this game by defense. If they win this game, or Milwaukee blows them out, which I don't think helps the case at all. Anyway, Dallas, OKC, the game to target. I mean, looking at the injury report here for Dallas, no Exum, no Jaden Hardy, no Maxey, Najee Marshall, and PJ Washington are both questionable, and Brandon Williams is out. On the Thunder side of things, Holmgren remains out, Topic remains out, and Jalen Williams remains out. Go to Dallas first. It's a 2-game slate. Luka is your raw points play of the day. Don't get me wrong. I love Giannis. I think he's awesome. But I'm going to do everything I can to play Luka and SGA together on this 2-game slate. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think these two guys are going to take over these games. I mean, the contrarian play would be to play Kyrie over Luka. But, dude, I mean, he's just been balling. He's gone over 70 fantasy points in 3 of 4 since returning from injury. Like, he's like, all right, I missed some games. I got to get myself back in the MVP talk. I'm going to ball out. I mean, yeah, he's just been absolutely crushing, and his defense has been great. I just play Luka. Who else do we like from Dallas?
Definitely like Luka. I really want Klay Thompson to just do something, Steve.
Doesn't this seem like, though, this seem like the veteran coming in, has all these rings, just shows up to a big game and hits like 4 or 5 threes? Doesn't it just feel, it has that feel to it? Like, doesn't it actually happen? We'll obviously see on Tuesday night, but it has that feel of, hey, I'm Klay Thompson. I've been here many, many times. Watch this. That's the kind of feel that I get from Klay in this spot.
Yeah, and Steve, this price though, man. And don't get me wrong. Full disclosure, OKC's actually, I think, been really good on defense. In fact, I think they're actually the number 1 team in defensive efficiency. I think I'm correct on that. Steve, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure. If not, they're like top 3 at least. But like, they've been really good.
Yeah, they're number 1 still.
Yeah, okay. I can't ignore Klay Thompson at 4,600 in a game that matters in December.
Yep.
Do you give it up? Like,
it was my initial thoughts too. I had the exact. I opened this slate up and I was like, I mean, bust or not, I don't care. Like, I do care. I want him. He's just too cheap. He's coming off a game where he shot 16 times. He's too cheap. He's just too for the Klay Thompson that we know and love. He's just too cheap for his ceiling in this spot. Yeah.
So behind Luka, I think Klay is my next man in from Dallas. I'm okay with Lively. Like, I do feel like he's played enough minutes and he's had some games. So I'm okay with Lively. I'm okay with, like, if you're mass multi-entering, like, I think you need to be playing some Lively and some Gafford. Obviously, you'll have some Klay. Kyrie at 8,300, I think, is reasonable, Stevie. And if they're really trying to win this thing, like, he's going to play the minutes. He's not my favorite play on the board, but I would play him and Luka together.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd play them together either. What's interesting here is looking at like PJ and Najee, who potentially sits, who potentially plays, kind of thing. I mean, this might be a tournament shot on like large field tournaments to take some shots on Gafford. I don't know if Gafford gets extra run, but his fantasy point per minute production has been incredible this season. So I don't hate the idea of potentially getting. But the other thing you got to remember about Klay in this spot, too, is like Jaden Hardy's not going to be there getting like his 14, 15, 16 minutes either. Like, we might get Clay playing the minutes that we want. So and Maxey being out definitely helps Lively and Gafford's upside a little bit too. So I'm definitely leaning Luke over Kyrie, and yeah, I'm happy to fade Clay's 5% chance at a 34-point ceiling game. Listen, you do what you got to do. We give you our thoughts, and my thought is this guy's been here many, many times. He's a veteran, and I don't even necessarily need him to score 35 points on DraftKings at this price point. I would be super happy if he got like 28. So you got to remember, it's a 2-game slate, and Orlando value on this 2-game slate is going to be massively owned. So I think Clay's a good way to look different. And I think Gafford is really interesting for tournaments too. Just like you get that 25-minute game from Gafford here. He has the 35-point upside. So I like Gafford. Going to the Thunder, SGA and Jalen Williams. Hartenstein. I think that is I think that's where you're looking at on the Thunder. Hartenstein's he realized that he is Isaiah Hartenstein. Like he's realized that again, but he's been great. Jalen Williams has definitely seen a decrease, and SGA just kind of keeps doing SGA things. I think the contrarian build in this spot is to go Jalen Williams over SGA, but I definitely like SGA more than Jalen Williams.
I agree. Let me say this, Stevie. Lou Dort isn't Clay or some of the other, but like he's still cheap value. I think Dort is behind everybody here. Like, I don't think he gets more ownership than any of the other 4K guys. And I know I keep bringing up a lot of this value tonight, but I think this is where the slate is won. Like, we can all play Luka, and I think that's the right play. And like, we can all play SG, and I think that's the right play. But any pivot off this Orlando value that eclipses it, like puts us in the driver's seat. And I think that's Clay. That's Lou Dort. Over the past 4 games, Stevie, Lou Dort's played 25 or more minutes, obviously. And you go back, he's been playing big minutes all season. And he's actually been incredibly productive in a lot of these spots, Stevie. Why is he still 4,400? He honestly should probably be 5K, anywhere from 5K to 5,500. But he's not. I think Lou Dort's a really, really strong play in tournaments, and
the minutes are going to be there.
Yeah, and I'm with you on SGA. Like, he just keeps doing SGA things. His ceiling isn't nearly as high as Luka's. His ceiling isn't nearly as high as Giannis's. But if they blow out Orlando, Giannis doesn't hit 70 fantasy points. He might hit high 40s, low 50s. That's not enough. I'm saying compared to SGA at 10K. So I like SGA as well. I'm trying to decide where Hartenstein is going to fall on the ownership track here. I feel like he's going to pick up some ownership because he's had a string of games, pretty much 35 or more fantasy points. So I think he will pick up some ownership, but definitely like Lou Dort. He's one of my favorite values in this late game and just on the slate in general. I think you could get a little froggy and play Alex Caruso also at 3,700. Like, one of these cheap guys that nobody plays is going off. And I just hope we've given you enough guys that you can kind of piece it together.
So here's the thing. On this 2-game slate, if you play Orlando, Milwaukee, you feel like you're a little bit behind, take some shots on Dort and Wallace. They're going to play minutes in this game. Maybe get off of SGA and play Jalen Williams. Maybe get off of both of them and play Hartenstein and one of the other Thunder or Dallas players. Like, if you feel like you're behind and you don't have that player that maybe goes off in that Orlando-Milwaukee game, take some shots. I mean, that's all you get. That's all you can do at that point, is take some shots. All right, so obviously we don't have pricing for the next 2 games, but we wanted to talk about them because NBA Cup, and we're excited. There's totals out, so we're going to get into it. Atlanta at New York, 237 total. We'll kind of have an idea, I think, of like who is going to be priced where. The Knicks 7-point favorite here at home against Atlanta. I think I agree with that. I think I would have New York favorite in the 5 to 7 range in this spot. I do think they're the team to beat in this one. We don't have an injury report yet either. We know that Jalen Johnson has been dealing with a shoulder injury. He did not play on Sunday. So watch that. Bogdanovich left Sunday's game early. So if both of those guys were to sit, I think you're bumping up DeAndre Hunter, you're bumping up Dyson Daniels. So watch this news. What's your initial read here on the Atlanta side of this game? Over half mutes, bang. Whoever took it, you're welcome.
So for Atlanta, and this is me judging the pricing of the previous slate, Stevie, I have to assume pricing is going to be soft. Do you get what I'm saying? Like they didn't price this slate up really, which is fine because you do need some room to like build lineups. Sometimes when it's too tight, it's just you're reaching for like really bad plays. So I have to assume some of these Atlanta guys, if Bogdanovich is out, I have to assume they're in the upper 4K to 5K range, like your Reese Shea, your Hunter. Dyson Daniels might be in the 6K range because he's kind of been there anyway. But that's kind of what I'm going to assume. And I think DeAndre Hunter would be my value play here. Because when I look at the slate overall, like I feel like I play Brunson over Trey in this spot for what it's worth. Because I think Brunson's going to be mid 8K and I think Trey is going to be low 9K. Going to love Trey, but I think Brunson's my guy if I'm playing a primary guard out of this game. And then in terms of like I've been splitting Capella and Okongwu like all season, and then I just kind of quit splitting them because Capella took off. I think if Capella's in the mid 5K range also, Stevie, which I assume he comes in around 5,600. I think you got to take shots on him. His production has been outstanding in his minutes recently.
I will say this. In tournaments, again, we don't have pricing, but in tournaments, I'm very interested in Okongwu over Capella. And the reason that I say that is doesn't Cat just seem like the guy that Capella gets 3 fouls in the first like 8 minutes of the game against? And Okongwu gets that like 28-minute game instead of like the 22-minute game. So I'll say in tournaments, again, we don't have pricing. We're looking ahead. It's fun to do this without pricing because you can go back and you can be like, that's kind of right where I thought the guy was going to be. So yeah, I mean, I think Okongwu is really interesting. I just want to hammer it home like one more time. I think that if we do get news that Jalen Johnson is out, I think Bogdanovich misses this game for what it's worth. But if we get news that Jalen Johnson is out of this game, just play Trae Young. I would definitely just prioritize. It'd be like a Trae Young, Karl-Anthony Towns stack for me in that scenario. But I also would like Dyson Daniels. I would like DeAndre Hunter. I'd probably play some Ricochet.
Because Ricochet's been cheaper than all those guys because of the minutes distribution recently.
Yep. But he's coming off a game where Jalen Johnson was out and he played 29 minutes. So, the minutes are going to be there. And we saw DeAndre Hunter score like 20 actual points for like the 4th straight game. So he's been playing really good basketball. But we might see his price kind of tick up a little bit as well because of the recent production. I mean, tournament-wise, Jalen Johnson's out. Play Trae Young, in my opinion. I think he has a huge, huge ceiling in that scenario. Going to the Knicks side, obviously, anytime we're playing Atlanta, we're interested in any team playing Atlanta because of the pace, because of the defense. We talk about how good defensively, the Thunder, Houston, Orlando, Golden State, like some of these teams in this NBA Cup, and then you got, the Knicks and the Hawks sitting at like I think 18 and 19th. Going to the Knicks side of this game, I mean, this is why they brought in Cat. I mean, these are the types of games that they brought in Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, it's as simple as that for me. We know exactly what we're going to get from the Knicks here. They're going to play their starters as many minutes as they can handle. So I think if you want to play Karl-Anthony Towns, Brunson, Hart, OG, Bridges, go for it. I think I'd prioritize Karl-Anthony Towns over Brunson, but I don't think this is a bad matchup for Brunson at all.
Yeah, that's where I am. I've been team Karl-Anthony Towns over Brunson pretty much after the first week. of seeing them play together. So definitely like Towns. But once again, I do like Brunson in this spot. So I want to make that clear. I do like him today on this slate. I think this is a really good spot for him. OG was a guy that I've been playing, Steven. He was in the 5K range as his prices creeped up because of the production. A lot of these other Knicks have just kind of fallen behind for me because they've all kind of been priced up. Now, Mikal Bridges has been more in the 6K range, but his production still hasn't been really 30-plus fantasy points consistently. Josh Hart's going to have those sporadic games. So I honestly, Stevie, I think in this game, I play Karl Anthony Towns, and then I'm with you, I play Trae Young on the other side with the cheaper Hawks. I think that's the approach for this game. Like, maybe you get to some Miles McBride because he's cheap, like maybe. But I feel like the Hawks guys are going to give us everything we need. So I love Karl Anthony Towns. I like Brunson. Okay with Hart, but like I don't plan to load up on the Knicks. I feel like their production is way more concentrated.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks and the Raptors played a random like solo game on Monday, and every starter played 35 plus minutes except for Josh Hart, who played 32 minutes. So you just know what you're getting. You're not getting a ton of production off the bench. Miles McBride, like you mentioned, maybe if he's like 4,500 on DraftKings when the slate opens up, you could take some shots on him. But I mean, Bridges is playing a ton of minutes. OG is playing a ton of minutes. Cat just has a huge ceiling. He's capable of like a 30-20 game. So, yeah, man, interested for this game. I'm excited to watch this game. Of the two games, not that I'm not excited to watch the Warriors-Rockets game because I think that game is going to be awesome. So, yeah, Scotty Barnes got hurt, but he's not on this slate. Hopefully he is okay. Really interesting week for basketball just because of like how the NBA Cup kind of shapes up. There's not a lot of games this week. I think a lot of teams definitely needed this like little bit of a break. There's a lot of injuries going on in the NBA right now, and I think there's a lot of lingering NBA injuries. So I do think like this break that we have right now is really good for every team in the NBA, not just the Cup teams. So I'll just say that. Let's go to the first look here for the next game. It's I just said it's the Warriors and Rockets. It's a 221.5 total. The Rockets a 2.5 point favorite. I think of the four games that we have on this like opening NBA Cup quarterfinals, this is the best basketball game. I don't know if it's the best fantasy production game, but I think this is the best basketball game. We have two of the best defensive teams in the NBA and two of the highest net rating teams in the NBA. I mean, both of these teams playing fantastic basketball to start the season. Houston, Golden State, both in the top 8 in overall net rating. Let's go. Who's on the road? It's the Warriors, right? The Warriors are on the road. Yeah, let's go Golden State here going into Houston. Watching the Wiggins news, he's banged up right now. Everything that I've read is they're very optimistic he'll play for this game. Warriors have been playing deep, but I don't know. This is going to tell us a lot about what the Warriors want to do. Yep.
Hey, give me Steph Curry's. So here's my deal. Here's my rule, Stevie. Steph Curry's 9K, 9,200, maybe up to 9,400. I'm in. That's pretty much how I'm approaching this thing. If he happens to be 8,800, Stevie, 8,600, oh boy, I'm all the way in. That's how I want to approach this slate with him against this team, because clearly we know they're gonna have to ride him to the money if they're gonna win this thing. So really like Steph. I'm okay if Wiggins plays. I'm okay with Wiggins. I feel like Wiggins will come in, low 6K, upper 5K. I assume low 6K. Podziemski had been picking up some minutes, Stevie. So maybe, just maybe I'd play him too. But once again, I mainly want to play Steph in this spot. I know they've been playing. Oh man, what is his name? Shooting guard.
Kuminga?
Waters.
Oh.
They had been playing Waters, and he had been cheap. But I I don't think that's worth it. I think Steph's the guy out of everybody from this team, and with it being a cup, like a cup game, pretty much almost heading into like a finals type matchup, Stevie. I think he gets all the minutes he can handle here. I don't think he gets limited. I think if they need him for 36, he plays it.
I'll say this. The Warriors really haven't changed much as far as how they've approached the season during these NBA Cup games. So I was looking back, the Golden State Denver game from December 3rd was the last group cup game for them. And Curry played 34 minutes.
Yep.
And Wiggins played 30 minutes, but nobody else topped 30 minutes. And I will say Draymond was out for that game, and we saw really solid minutes for Kuminga. That's not going to be the case. Draymond's going to play in this game. I would definitely prefer Kuminga over Draymond, but I also Draymond has been really cheap recently. So he might be someone you're potentially looking at. And I mean, I don't know if Waters is somebody I would take shots on in this type of scenario.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I was just saying he was playing, but trying to play him wouldn't be worth it, really.
Yeah, so I mean, watch all this. I will say Moses Moody got hurt. I see they're talking about it in chat. Moses Moody got hurt. I don't think I really want to mess with that. I think it's Steph on the ceiling side, and then just kind of look at the price tags on a Draymond, a Buddy Hield, and Andrew Wiggins. If Wiggins is out, I think that's a bump to Buddy Hield and Kuminga and Podsy. So watch this news.
Buddy's the guy I wish they gave more minutes to in general, just generally speaking.
Yeah, well, we can't really sit here and criticize this team because I mean they're off to a really, really strong start. I mean,
14-9.
We don't love it. Like DFS players, bettors, we don't love what they're doing, but I mean they're 14-9. And it's working. I mean, they're playing good basketball. All right, other side of this game. This is where it's really interesting because, the Van Vliet news, he's been dealing with a knee. I don't know if it was just, hey, let's rest this guy because we need him 100%. He hadn't missed a game for a while, and it sounds like it's just a bruised knee. He had played back-to-back 37-minute games. These two teams just played. When did they recently played, and Golden State won 99-93 or something in that game. And that was without Steph and Draymond, for what it's worth. So anyway, going to Houston, I think Van Vliet plays in this game. Eason is in concussion protocol. I don't know if he'll be back. They get a couple extra days here, so he could potentially be back because this game's on Wednesday. What are we looking at? First look here on the Houston Rockets.
I actually want Van Vliet to play because he's been kind of he to me, Stevie, he's like the cheap guard that could get 40 here. You know what I'm saying? He's been 77K, 7,200, 6,800, 6,900, in that range. So I actually really like him in this spot in a game that should be competitive. We've seen Tari Eason get some minutes. We've seen Smith pick up some minutes. If Jabari Smith, Stevie, comes in at that low upper 4K range, I think he's another cheap guy on that slate that you could utilize. He's somebody I actually would trust. I do think he'll get 25 to 28 minutes. Just hope he puts together some production. I'm assuming Şengün comes in around 8,500, and you'll have to kind of decide between him and Cat. Obviously, it's Cat for me, but I think you could get them both and still be comfortable. Amen Thompson is a guy that should pick up some minutes. So I'm fine with him. And he's been relatively cheap too, Stevie. So whenever he's been cheap and able to pick up 20 to 30 minutes, I've been good with it. It looks like the guys were mentioning him now. But if Fred Van Vliet is out, I actually feel really good about Thompson and Eason. I think that helps them both in terms of their minutes.
Coming in the middle of a yawn. Yeah, I mean, going to Tuesday slate, going back to Tuesday slate with the Bucks, and now I think they're just a good team that they don't really have a ton of upside. That I just didn't like that team. That's kind of where I'm at with Houston. I think that Sengun is like your ceiling guy. He's averaging 1.45 fantasy points per minute this season. He's your ceiling guy. But if you look at everybody else, they've kind of just been underwhelming. I think it's the best way to say Houston fantasy production wise. I mean, they're a really good basketball team. And they're young. This team has an incredible 2 to 5 year window. If they're able to keep this team kind of together.
Who's their coach, Stevie?
Of the Rockets?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, actually.
It's the old coach from the Celtics.
Oh, Ime? Is it Ime? Right? Aduka? Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that his name?
Yeah. So think about that.
I mean, that makes sense. Why didn't I know who the coach was? Yeah. You threw me a curveball. I didn't know, but I know who the Celtics. Yeah. Anyway,
but think about that. He basically went to the Celtics. They were on a path to win a championship. Got in some trouble. Got fired. Houston picks him up, and now look at Houston. They're on a similar path in a year.
Same style too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Same style.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to see how the Van Vliet news kind of shapes up, but I mean, Eason potentially being back, I don't know. I'll say this, Will. Dylan Brooks is probably going to be low 4Ks, high 3Ks. Yep. He's going to play 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He stands in a corner, but I mean, if he stands in the corner and scores 15 points in this game and adds a couple rebounds and maybe a stock or two, he's not your craziest value option for a 4-game slate where I don't know if there's a ton of value on this slate. Orlando with Franz getting hurt before this game and DK algorithm not catching up to Franz being out. I mean, going back to that game, I mean, there's 10 guys you could play. There's realistically was there 5 guys from Orlando that you could play value-wise? Mo Wagner, we talked about, Goga, KCP, Black, Anthony. If Isaac played, realistically, there's 5 or 6 guys for Orlando because of the injuries. So 2 different slates. We'll see how it kind of shapes up. Any final thoughts on this NBA Cup quarterfinals?
Negative, man. I am good to go. And I'm glad to talk about this, man, because we kind of got a chance to kind of talk DFS, kind of be fans too. So this was a good blend. I enjoyed it.
All right, I got the Hard Rock app fired up. We're gonna let's straight money lines. Who wins Orlando, Milwaukee? Straight up Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, got it.
I mean, if a week ago you would ask me this question, I'm taking Orlando, but Giannis and Lillard with no Franz and Paulo is going to be really tough to overcome. Who do you got? Dallas, OKC.
I'm gonna go with the young guns of OKC at home. I'm gonna go OKC at home.
Atlanta, New York.
I'm going New York here. I just think these starters are going to play too many minutes, and the Villanova crew is going to run the show. They're going to play good D. I'm going New York.
All right, I'm with you on Knicks. This next one is really interesting. Golden State in Houston. Do we take the underdog and take Steph to beat Houston?
I'm taking it. I'm going Golden State here. Listen, Curry has put on some stupid performances in Houston too, for what it's worth. Let me see if I can actually pull this.
I got a bonus bet here. This is plus 522 straight, all 4 money lines. We take one underdog. It looks like we think 3 favorites are going to win, and we're going to take the Warriors. I'm going to throw my bonus bet at this. Why not? And have some fun with it. But feel free if you have a bonus bet, or if you want to throw a couple bucks in there with us to have the morning grind 4-pick sweat. I threw it in there. We'll let it ride, see what happens. He is Chief. I'm Stevie. It's been fun. We're off on Wednesday, so Tuesday night, Wednesday podcast. We're off. Back Wednesday night for NFL podcast. I can't believe how fast the NFL season is kind of flying by. Like watching this Dallas game right now and like looking at it and like, holy crap, we're in week 15, like tomorrow. It's crazy. So week 15 NFL podcast.
Baseball is winding down too.
Yeah, Wednesday night. So a lot of awesome football games this week. Just for what it's worth, a lot of awesome football games. So I'm very excited for football this week. So have a fantastic week. We'll see you guys again Wednesday night to talk some NFL week 15. Good luck, everyone. See you then.